So, Rob,
Hello.
what is the story, Rob?
I'm fabulous.
Are you good, Rob?
Yes, I'm very well.
Excellent. It's been a while since we spoke, so tell me, what have you done recently? What was class?
What was class? Actually, what was really class was a game I played, and it was sitting in my library for a while,
Okay.
and I thought I haven't played that yet. I'll give it a go. Observation.
Don't know anything about this game.
It was rather incredible, I would say, because I went into it knowing nothing about the gameplay, knowing nothing about the story or anything like that, but I had just played a couple of really long games, and I wanted to play something short and sweet that was kind of like a palate cleanser, maybe.
Yep.
And this game ticked pretty much all the right boxes. It's, for anyone who's seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, it's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey, the game, kind of.
Okay.
They're not directly connected or anything like that, but it's set on a space station, and there's weird goings on, and you need to. Essentially, you're playing the role of an investigator, but you are the AI aboard the ship, called SAM. Systems Administration Maintenance or something like that. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. But if you can think of HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, you're kind of playing a role like his. So you're the artificial intelligence on the ship that's interspersed throughout all the cameras, all the different there's different mechanisms on the ship that you can take control of as the AI, and there's something weird happening, and you have to find out what's going on. I won't say any more than that if people actually want to play it for themselves, but that was like an 8, maybe 10 plus hour experience.
Oh, nice.
That was really great.
That's bite size.
It was, yeah. It's very much indie. Like it's rough around the edges in certain places, but what I found quite telling about the game is all of the flaws are the things I've kind of forgotten about. What stayed with me are the positives. And there are times in the game where I was thinking, oh my God, what is going on here? This is really interesting.
Cool.
And the ending I quite liked as well. I thought about the game for a long time after I played it. So yeah, if anyone has any interest, I would recommend Observation for sure. If anyone knows Stories Untold, that's by the same writer, or maybe the same publisher or developer, maybe all three, I'm not sure. But it's very similar to Stories Untold if you've played that. But I think Observation was better.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'd recommend that. That's what I'd have to talk about if it comes to video games that I've played recently. And yourself, did you play anything good, or did you watch anything good? I don't know what you've been exposing yourself to.
No, I have done very little. The last thing that we watched together, movie-wise, we watched K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was literally on your recommendation.
Yeah.
And then after I spoke to you about it, I think my phone heard it and sent me nothing but TikToks and YouTube clips about people reacting to this and being incredible. But yeah, that was really good. And now I can't get it. Like, I'm not actively seeking out the music, and yet I hear it all the time because someone is playing it, or it's very rare that stuff gets on the radio, but I can hear it on the radio in the canteen at work. And I'm like, wow, this is very mainstream if it's being played on the radio. Yeah. But that was an incredible story, and it took so many twists and turns, and it was so simple. And like, I wouldn't really be an anime guy. The only ones that I I would have watched probably season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! At some point, and the first 2 seasons maybe of Pokemon. And everyone told me to watch Death Note, and I watched a little bit of Death Note up until I realized it's the same thing every episode.
Was that where is Death Note the live action thing that had Willem Dafoe in it?
So, okay, yeah, you're going to anger the internet here.
Okay.
Death Note was an anime. It was like a manga, and it became an anime, and then there was an Americanized movie version of it, where they bastardized the source material, and the fans are very much F that movie, and some people are no, F the manga, the movie's best. You know, it's one of those who kind of split the audience.
Super divisive.
Yes. I actually watched the movie and thought it's grand, considering if you consider the source material, there is no way they could fit all of that into a movie, for one, and 2, it would have been a really weird movie if they had, and it wouldn't have been mainstream enough. And anyone who thinks that they should have to stick to the source material exactly, and that's more important than the movie being profitable, so that everyone involved can make money and make more movies, that's lunacy. Like it's not going to work. I'm sorry. But yes, it is that. And it was great until I realised it was poos. And I got an awful lot of flack from some of my friends when I told them I stopped watching it over 30 episodes in. And they're like, but it was just getting good. And I'm like, that's a problem.
I've heard that so many times before. Yeah.
You can't tell me something takes that long to get into something for it to only then get good.
I seem to remember a friend of ours years ago who was talking about, I think it might have been Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
And he said, oh yeah, but it only gets good about 40 hours in. And at that point, I'm like, I can't afford to spend 40 hours getting into something. It has to be good from...
To be honest, if you think that, actually, I am losing respect for you in that moment as well.
Though having said that, I excuse me, I'm trying to convince my partner at the moment to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, because there's 7 seasons of that, and it's still to this day some of my most highly rated TV ever. It's some of the episodes in that show are absolutely incredible. But what I would say is that it kind of spends the first 2 seasons or so finding its feet. Season 1 of Next Generation, I don't think is all that great. There's some amazing episodes in the first couple of seasons, just like there are some stinkers in the later seasons. But overall, it takes 2, maybe 3 seasons to really find its feet and to get going.
Too much.
It is a lot, yeah. So,
do you know my rule?
Okay.
3 episodes.
Right.
If you haven't gripped me in 3 episodes, then get better at telling your story.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree all that strongly with that, yeah.
If you don't like Breaking Bad after 3 episodes, you're probably not going to like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And I think you can say the same for a lot of the shows that I gave my time to. One we have on at the moment, and it's taking us forever to watch it, is The Rookie.
The Rookie? I don't know that one.
Okay, so it's Nathan Fillion.
Oh, Serenity, right?
The guy from... Was he Firefly?
Yeah, Serenity was the film, right? Yeah, Firefly, Serenity, they're kind of...
I didn't watch either of those.
Yeah, okay.
So it's him, and I like him from things, but I never really placed him in anything. And he, in this, is an old rookie cop. He's in his 40s, life changes, and he decides to chase his passions to become a cop. And it's another cop show, but I like how they do this one. They do things like where they're wearing actual body cams and stuff. So when the boys are running in the street and the camera's shaking, the actor filmed that as they were running and stuff. Quite good, but it takes us 3 days to watch an episode. Right, because by the time we're sitting down to watch it, the kids are screaming and everything. But it's good kind of background, simple TV, and we're enjoying the characters and stuff so far. But if you don't like Walking Dead by 3 episodes in, it's not for you. And that's fine. But I'm not giving something 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons to get into something.
Yeah, sure.
Like that's
I guess
waffle.
When it came to me and Next Generation, I had heard so much about it over the years. I was never really a Star Trek fan until I watched Next Generation. Then, having watched the 7 seasons of Next Generation, I've been completely sold on it now. But it did take some investment at the beginning. I watched the first few episodes and I thought, yeah, this is not bad. But I stuck with it, and then I reaped the rewards after I had become properly invested in it. But it did take a bit of blind faith on my part. Well, a blind faith on my part, but also a lot of recommendations from friends. But when I started watching it for myself, I thought, yeah, this is okay. But I stuck with it, and I eventually thought it was it became amazing a couple of seasons in.
If you were telling me the same thing, but in regards to like going running or going to the gym,
right?
It took an awful lot of work at the start, but I kind of love it now. Like that's the same kind of vibe I'm getting from you. You have to put a bit of effort in at the start, but you got something out of it in the end. And not everybody will. I never really got into Star Trek. I think I saw some of the movies. It's not something that I ever, like. Do you know what? It was on BBC Two probably when I was growing up. And I'd have seen the odd episode, but they wouldn't have been in sequence necessarily. There might have been episodes jumping back and forth a little bit. So I couldn't even follow a plot line. You might get a cliffhanger and come back to the next thing, and it might not be following the same story. Which anytime that happens in TV, it's going to be a problem. But K-pop Demon Hunters, it was the last thing that we really watched that blew me away. And even in that, parts of it didn't. Like, I was annoyed by some of like the art choices and stuff. Like, I hate the anime thing of when someone cries and the mouth opens and the eyes water and it's all
Oh
over the top.
yeah.
That to me is nonsense. But like, I say that's nonsense, but it's in a world where a K-pop band is fighting demons. Do you know what I mean? It's
like
so
realism
dumb.
has gone out the window at that point.
It is. It is. It. I watched a little YouTube clip of the guy who played Sam Tarly from Game of Thrones, and he's sitting on the couch and he's on a talk show, and someone asked him, like, "Do you get recognized or whatever?" And he says, "Yeah, I was out one day and someone came up to me and they asked me why am I fat?" And he's like, "What?" They're like, "Why are you still fat? You're traipsing through these places with no access to food. Surely your character should be losing loads of weight." And his response to that is, "This show is about dragons and the undead, but I'm the thing that's making this an unbelievable experience."
Yeah, right.
For you.
Yeah.
You're out because of me. Cool. Like, it seems silly to watch an anime and give out about the art choice, but I didn't really grow up too much in anime. But as I say that now, Ash Ketchum definitely had the same style when he was crying or whatever. It would have been a very similar choice. But I thought the story was really fun and absurd, but oddly gripping. It was told so well that you were invested in the characters and you actually cared about their actions and the reactions of things.
The characters were very likable. Yeah, the three ladies in Huntrix,
and the bad guys as well.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, they're actually class.
The
Like,
Saja boys, I think they're hilarious to watch. I really like them, especially the Soda Pop music video. That's really funny.
It was really fun, and it hit everything right on the nose. It was perfect. Like, if you look at the response to boy bands from their target audience, or you look at like the Swifties and the way they just absolutely revere Taylor Swift, like, it's so funny that they encapsulated that really well in a few, ultimately in some really impressive doodles. I think it's definitely a medium that I need to explore more because I did enjoy it. And I don't know is it good or bad because I've nothing to compare it to. All I know is I enjoyed what I got. Do you know what I mean? More so, I would say, than with Death Note. And I was hooked on Death Note. I really believed Death Note was great. And then one day I was explaining Death Note to someone. The way I explained it made me think this is dumb. And Death Note is like a game of cat and mouse. But once the mouse knows they're being chased by the cat, they transition into being a dog. But the cat saw that coming, so the cat has become a fox. And the dog has gone, no, I'm going to become a bird because then the fox can't get me. But then the other thing goes, I'm going to be a monkey with a bazooka, and then I can shoot the bird down from the sky. But no, I saw that coming. So I'm actually going to be the guy behind the counter who sells the bullets, and I'm going to sell you duds. Oh, but I saw that coming, and I'm actually a hacker who stole your money from the. And it's just nonsense. But I explained it similarly to a friend of mine like that, and they're like, that was actually so accurate. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to stop watching, and I never watched it again. Like, I was 30.
If that's how you explain Death Note, I've very little motivation to watch it now.
Yeah, I talked myself out of it. But ultimately, the premise is some dude gets a book, and attached to the book is a demon. And any name you write into the book, the demon will take that person.
Yeah.
So he gets himself out of trouble by just writing the names of his enemies down. But then someone cops on and is looking for him, and it's very much a case of like, it's a bit Scooby-Doo like. Yeah, and anyone who's like, oh no, it's incredibly good, I'm like, just don't value your opinion anymore. I'm sorry. But yeah, I really hope that gets to the right audience and people come to me for that. But yeah, it's not something that I was able to really get all that into. But I follow some people who cover anime and manga, and it's a lot of people will say it's a good introduction, but it's not the be all and end all. And if it gets someone interested in anime and gets someone interested in manga, great, because they might find other ones, and it's good for the culture of it, and making sure that more are being produced, and that the ones that are being produced are of a high enough quality, and it's getting more eyes in them. Like, I hate when something is gate kept. People want to keep it a secret because they don't want to let others in who they're not going to really love it, man. Like that kind of thing. I grew up with that in music and skateboarding to an extent, and video games, and I like wrestling, and it's all little groups that kind of make these groups toxic for those reasons, and it can sap the fun out of it. Like,
yeah, sure, yeah.
and I'm victim of it myself. Like where I've gotten too close to something where I stopped seeing it for the crack that it was, and I'm looking at it too closely.
How do you mean?
There are certain things where I would have been an absolute bell end about, where I'd say, "Oh, that's not true to the fucking art," or whatever, and I'd have lost my way on that. But when I kind of take a step back and I reevaluate it, like, don't yuck someone else's yums.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just a case of if someone else enjoys something and you don't, it should be fine for that to happen. Like, just go, yeah, it's not for me, and move on. But I previously would have dug in and gone, no, you just don't understand it.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
fuck me for that, That's it's not the way to be. Just you're not going to convince someone they like it or they don't, and that's fine. But yeah, so K-pop Demon Hunter is probably the only thing I've watched, and if there was anything else, it wasn't good enough to remember, in my opinion.
We're currently getting into Pirates movies. Pirates of
Oh,
the Caribbean.
amazing!
Yeah, I don't think I had seen any of them, actually. It was just never. Yeah. You're having a hell of a facial
Existential
reaction to
crisis
that
here.
revelation now. But
That's incredible. Yeah.
yeah, it was just. They would have been films that friends might have gone to see in the cinema for their birthdays and things. And it's a series of films that's eluded me for, well, for years. I've never ever seen them. And it's not because I knew that I wasn't going to like them or anything like that. It's just films that I never got around to watching.
Yeah.
But my partner absolutely loves them. She has an absolute thing for Jack Sparrow, which I think a lot of ladies do.
Not just ladies.
Well, yeah, everyone of any persuasion. But we watched Curse of the Black Pearl a couple of days ago. I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, actually, because if I had one small criticism, it might be that it's quite long. It's like 2.5 hours.
If you think Black Pearl is long,
yeah, the others are longer.
the
right?
others are longer.
Yeah.
Or at least it might be the same length but with more filler.
Okay.
That's just a little warning for you.
But I'm happy to forgive the length, because even though it was 2.5 hours, I quite enjoyed the 2.5 hours. It was easy watching, and it's
what an adventure that they go on.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, and I'm looking forward to watching the next ones. Although, my partner said that she isn't really a fan of the fifth one. She said the first 4 are very good, then the fifth one she said wasn't all that good. So we'll see.
We'll watch them. Remember the order specifically. I think I didn't like 4 but liked 5.
I think I looked up the names of the films. The fifth one has 2 different names depending on where in the world it was released, I think. It's either, is it Salazar's Revenge or Salazar's Gold or something? I think it's Salazar's Revenge, or Dead Men Tell No Tales.
I think I saw it as Salazar's.
Okay. Javier Bardem, I think, is Salazar.
Yeah. So I think I enjoyed that more than the one prior to it.
Right.
But
is that At World's End? I think is the 4th one.
I thought that was the 3rd one, but I could be completely wrong here. I think the 2nd one is Davy Jones something or other, or Dead Man's Chest or something like that.
Yeah, Dead Man's Chest.
Then I thought it was World's End, and then I thought there was one that doesn't have Johnny Depp in it.
Oh, really? That'd be weird.
I might be misremembering this completely.
Yeah.
I might be misremembering this completely, because one of them I just scrubbed from my memory because I didn't enjoy it. It had some moments where the acting to me was really hokey.
Right.
But I really enjoy those movies. I'm glad you mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, because that's an awful lot that came off the back of a ride at Disneyland.
Yeah, because the first ride was
way before the movie.
Yeah, was it in the 70s or something?
Yeah. It was just they had this idea for a cool pirate theme thing, and I think they toyed with the idea of making it into a movie over the years, but it would have to have been a really dark cartoon.
Right.
And it became, well, we could do it live action now. And the cast of that movie and that franchise, incredible cast.
Yeah, the casting, at least for the first film that I saw, was very, very good.
My gosh, like you've got Legolas there, and it is off the back of the success of Lord of the Rings. You're going to take him out of the blonde wig, and he's the love interest kind of thing. And they got Keira Knightley. I think she's might be even 17 or 18 filming it. It's around the
She's that young?
I think it's around the time. I think Love Actually happens when she was 17. She was in Love Actually. And then I think this is right after that, so she's young.
Yeah.
But she's got one of those faces where she always looks like she's in her mid-20s.
Yeah, I thought she was like 25 in that film.
Yeah. And by the end of the franchise, she probably is 25.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's that kind of way. But it's one of those movies that it's probably created an awful lot of bisexual people. It just, they're all so gorgeous, like and you can appreciate.
It's a very photogenic cast.
It's incredibly photogenic cast. And I actually watched a short clip of Keira Knightley on a couch, and another one of these might have been Graham Norton or something, and she was asked about that movie and Johnny Depp's portrayal of Jack Sparrow. And I don't know if this is true, but what she said was, on paper, that was a really straight-laced pirate character. And then they were on set, and she saw him with the walk, and she was like, "Oh, this is different. Like, this is not what I had imagined." And she was completely thrown all the time by the way he was carrying on set. That she thought this isn't how I thought this role would go, and everything I planned for the scene is off now. Because it wouldn't work, because he's supposed to be straight-laced.
Like, having seen only the first film, I'm aware that there's 4 more I haven't seen, but having seen only the first one, I can understand why Depp's portrayal of Jack Sparrow resonates so well with people and why they love him so much. I didn't absolutely fall in love with him. I thought he was quite funny, and his presence on screen is very arresting, but I didn't finish the movie thinking, "Oh my god, he's like my favorite character ever." I thought he was funny, but he'd be, how would I describe it? He wasn't fully for me.
Okay.
Like I said, I enjoyed the film and I enjoyed him on screen, but I can understand why people love him so much. But for me, it was just like,
I love about him that he's an incredibly flawed character with seems to be like endless self-confidence. Even when everything about him is going wrong. And the moment you see him and he's standing up in the crow's nest, and as he gets into the dock, the ship is sinking. Like, I'm like, oh, this is
that
different.
was funny.
And everyone else plays a straight-laced character, and he is very much the other man. He's the funny man in the situation. And all his delivery of the lines, like anyone could have delivered the "but you have heard of me" line. But the way his eyes go all like puppy dog, and he's looking up in the expectation, and he's like, but you know, the facial expressions on it are just brilliant. I think he's an incredible character, and he does it so well.
So I am looking forward to watching the remaining 4, but I kind of always felt that way about Harry Potter as well. I was never a huge, I know you're disgusted. For anyone not unable to see, which would be everyone, Ger's face has grimaced beyond any kind of description now.
Your feelings on the Harry Potter franchise?
Never was a big fan.
Of the books or the movies?
I never read the books, so I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the books. I never read them, so I can't make any judgment on them. I've seen all of the films, and to me, they were always just, I'd love to love them, but there's something about that world that never gripped me in the way it did so many countless millions.
It's the lack of the books.
Possibly, yeah. Are you saying then, though, that if the only diet you have is the films, that isn't enough?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say you mentioned diet, and now I'm trying to come up with a clever way to put this. If you only got given margarita pizzas, is it okay if you say, I don't like pizza? Or is it a case of maybe you don't like 4 cheese margarita pizzas? There are other ways to do it out there. You can get the same experience, but maybe you're really into pepperoni, and that one might be your favorite food ever. The movies are great, but a lot of the selling point for the movies are you've got the magic of the books and your own brain is telling you what everything looks like. And then when you see it on screen and it is that way, or it might be even more impressive than you can visualize it, a lot of the magic is wrapped up in how on point they got the special effects. But if you didn't read what the Great Hall is supposed to look like, you just see it, I don't think you're going to get the same bang in your heart that you get. And it's a funny old franchise because those kids, we grew up with them. We're the same age as those characters.
Yeah, we were
right?
the same age as Harry when he's in the first film.
Yeah, so the actors are obviously a bit crap in the first one and in the second one. And by the third one, they're kind of finding themselves a little bit. By the fourth one, they're 16, 17. There's probably a bit of rebellion going on in their real lives. And then you've got 17, 18, or whatever. And by the time they get to the end, they probably just eager to finish the franchise as well.
Yeah.
But I think the characters do a really, really good job. I think, the actors portray the characters really, really well. And I think by the time they got to the end of them, they really wanted to do them a service. They didn't want to screw it up because they knew how important it was to people and they know how big and important the world is to people. And I do love that world. And for a while, it would have been probably the fantasy land in Air Bunnies that I knew the most about. And I'd be like, you can quiz me. And I would nail the quiz. I really, really enjoyed the books and the movies. There are things obviously that are better in the books than in the film, but I also like the actual Battle of Hogwarts. I probably prefer in the film than I do to the book.
What film does that take place in?
The last one.
Oh, okay. Right. I'm having to remember years ago when I saw it.
Yeah, no, it's the only one with a part 2. Deathly Hallows Part 2. Yeah.
No, it's Half-Blood Prince is before the Deathly Hallows.
That's 6. Yeah, book 6.
I do remember actually. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in a cinema. I remember it very clearly because my attention was arrested so intensely by that one scene. But I think it's in the very beginning few minutes of Deathly Hallows Part 2 where Hogwarts has been seized by bad guys. I can't remember.
The Death Eaters.
The Death Eaters, yeah. And there are Dementors that are placed kind of randomly around Hogwarts. And the camera is zooming out and you get to see the wispy robes of the Dementors. And they're all silently watching over Hogwarts. And you think, my God, when you compare just that one scene with the kind of doe-eyed, magic-y, Christmas-type feelings of Philosopher's Stone back when Harry was like, 9, 10 years old, something like that. It's kind of, what would you say? It's like a symbol for growing up, I guess.
It is.
The world looks so different.
So much
because the world is different, but you're different as well.
Go back and watch the intro bits where the Warner Brothers title card comes in. They get darker as each movie goes.
Yes, I did notice that as well. Yeah.
Really, really good. But I remember Order of the Phoenix, and they show, I think it's the Death Eaters flying around London. And I saw that in the cinema, and I was so intently fixated on trying to follow their movement that when the scene stopped, I was dizzy. I felt sick. I thought I was going to have to walk out of the cinema. I thought I was going to be ill. I remember distinctly going to see each of those movies in the cinema from like the third one on maybe. But I really loved Azkaban. That was my book. I loved it. And then Goblet was I finished Goblet and I turned it back to page 1 and I went again. I loved that. And I actually went and got Order of the Phoenix at the midnight launch. And I brought it home and I read that like the next day.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that holds a candle to Harry Potter when it comes to how gripped people were and the fervor surrounding midnight launches. The love for that franchise was beyond anything I'd ever seen before. The fact that there was a book series so popular and beloved that people were willing to queue for hours outside bookstores to get the book at midnight is a testament to how well they're written, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I love that there is something like that people love so much. I really gave it a try, and kind of isn't for me. It's not that I hate it, it's just that I don't love it. But I
I
love that people love it so much.
I would love to pick her brain
Yeah.
and ask her how much of the end plotline did she know when she wrote You're a Wizard, Harry. When she started, he's going to go to school. Did she already have a plan for the Horcruxes, or did
she
she?
figure it out
Did
along the
that
way?
come out? Did that just kind of happen as you went and went? Oh shit! I only have 4. But fuck it. What if we say he's already destroyed a few of them? Do you know? Did that happen organically, or was that a pre-planned? Did she write to get to that outcome, or was she just writing and that story happened out of her and she realized, oh, I knew this all along? Like, I'd love to know that, because like I tinker with kind of storytelling and writing stuff, but I have concepts and ideas for big pictures and that, but how much of it did she know, and how much of it did she look at the paperwork afterwards and go, where did that come from?
I think about this quite often, and I remember I read an essay by Edgar Allan Poe years ago. It's called The Philosophy of Composition, and he talks, I'm paraphrasing, but he talks about how he says something like every good story begins with its denouement, or every good story, the writer will have its denouement in mind before ever even beginning. And
you have to explain denouement.
The ending. So like you'll know what the ending is before you ever even start. And it can be the case that a story can be figured out by the author halfway through and it still be good. But I think it happens way too often where it's particularly evident in TV shows where they start and then halfway through, clearly what happened was the writers changed, or the writers didn't know how they were going to deal with a particular topic.
They've
and then
been offered a chance to renew for another season,
something
and they
like
don't
that.
have the source materials.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and it's usually a breakup of a relationship, and by the end of the season, they get back together again, and now you get another year out of it.
Yeah, or even when Lost was airing, you could really tell when the writer's strike happened.
Yes.
And it's just all that is testament to the fact that I think Poe was onto something there. If you start a story and you don't know where it's going, there's a very good chance that it's going to turn really crap halfway through. You need to know what story you're telling before you sit down and write it.
So I agree with you to a point. If you're writing a story, you need to know where the end of it is. But I think if you're just writing, maybe you can write something, look at the end of it, and go, cool, now I'll go back and add more to get to this point.
Oh,
like
yeah.
If you write something and you get something, you go, that's cool, that could be a nice full stop.
Yeah.
Now I need to go back to the beginning and go, how can I take a meandering path to get here, with maybe this point now being a twist, or this being...
Yeah.
Sometimes that
like
happens.
if it's all in the writing or the editing process, that's fine. But what I mean is, let's say J.K. Rowling is writing the books and it gets to Goblet of Fire. All those books are already out. They're in the public consciousness. People know what's going on. If she all of a sudden has no idea what she's going to do for the rest of the story, that will show.
Game of Thrones TV show.
Right? I couldn't... Yeah, it's a perfect example. Game of Thrones turned... It turned to complete dog shit halfway through, in my opinion.
And I disagree. But Walking Dead was similar. Eventually, the show caught up to the books, and there's no more source material.
Yep. That was the turning point.
If the author gives you the source material for your show, no one is going to buy my books. So I can give you guidance and I can give you pointers, but you have to come up with your own ending. At this point, and I don't think that's more tragic in my experience than The Walking Dead's ending, because
I haven't seen The Walking Dead now, so I don't know what the ending is.
I read The Walking Dead books. I started...
They were graphic novels, right?
Graphic novels, yeah. I think there was 30... I won't tell you how many. There was 30 odd. I took a few of them with me on my honeymoon, actually, and I was reading some of them over in Mexico and loved them. And I'd already watched maybe first 2 or 3 seasons. And the graphic novels quickly jumped the show for me. And I was like, these are incredible. But I was amazed by the fact that the TV show had introduced characters that weren't in the books at all. And suddenly I'm reading stories that I've seen played out on TV by different characters.
Okay.
And I realized very quickly that, okay, in the source material, these characters existed, but they're just in the background for a while. And later on, they had a pivotal point. But you could say the same thing about 3 or 4 characters at different stages of the story. So what the show did was they made a key character and gave them those 3 characters arcs. And they put an awful lot of investment into this person. And one of the main characters throughout The Walking Dead is Daryl in the TV show. Daryl's not in the book. He's not in the books.
Oh, wow.
He's one of the few you know.
Yeah.
And he's not a character in it.
It's interesting.
It's class. Yeah, and the ending for each of the characters basically is all wrong in the show. A lot of characters, the actors didn't come back, so they killed them off and they just gave that storyline to someone else. But then they also then can no longer carry on their own arc because maybe they died in the TV show. And then the author of the novels wrote them on to have some other class part, but we just killed them on TV. So I guess this character now can take that story because the story is too good to waste. We're using the story. We're just going to put different figureheads in it. And that changes it an awful lot. So I have a few friends in work who talk about the show and they've never read the books. And they'll tell me like, oh, it's so good when this happened. And I'll say, oh, that's when this person. And they're like, no, not that person. I'm like, right, graphic novels. But they actually kind of foretell the culmination of the whole story in the very first graphic novel. They kind of say, this book series is going to run until this event happens. And then in the show, they set it up so that event couldn't really happen. And then there's even like an afterword where there's a time jump at the end of the graphic novels where you go ahead like 20 years and you kind of see what's happened since those events. And the show built itself in such a way that they couldn't give you that either. So you get the ending of the graphic novel and you get like what happens later. But the show never served that up to you. And the way that actors left the show and wanted to come back and do their own spin-offs and all the rest of it, it really forced the writers' hands to just take an awful lot of C and B level characters and suddenly try to make them the focus. And I don't know, if I'm watching Batman, you can't all of a sudden turn Clayface into a hero and make me continue watching the show for Clayface. It was disappointing, but I'm also very conscious of all these things that can happen in the background, and that I'm very happy to see an alternate version of the story. I'm okay with that too. Like I don't need it. If I'm getting the exact same story, the end of Harry Potter is slightly different on film than it is to the book. The graphic novels of Walking Dead is different on TV than it is to the graphic novels, we'll say. And if you came with the same thing twice, I'm not going to be as invested. Give me a slightly different take. I like that. I think you've taken the source material and you've done your own thing with it. I have no problem with that. I'm getting twice the medium now. And if one isn't for me, then that's fine too. I get over myself. I'll get down off my unicorn and cop on. Like,
I remember, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but for the benefit of anyone listening, I'll tell the story again because I think it's quite interesting. But it was when I was in primary school, so probably 30 odd years ago at this point. We entered into this multi-schools project where we would write a story.
You have told me this.
Yeah, it's interesting. But our class was tasked with writing the beginning of this story. It was only maybe 2 or 3 pages worth, a couple of paragraphs, and we all collaborated as a class. And I can't even remember the details of what we wrote now, but we wrote a couple of pages, then those got passed on to the next school. They added on a couple of more pages, and it went around like that for 4 or 5 schools. And by the time the whole story was written,
made no sense.
It was one of the most disjointed, ridiculous stories that I remember reading, because where one class finished and the next class began couldn't have been more jarring and obvious. It was clearly written by a number of different authors who had no collaboration with each other, who weren't talking to each other. It was this complete mess. And it's because there wasn't any communication about where the story was going to end up. It was just, I write a bit, you write a bit, the next person writes a bit. No one talks to each other. And you end up with this literary hodgepodge that makes absolutely zero sense.
That's not good for art at all.
Essentially, what I'm describing are the Star Wars sequels.
It's always coming back to Star Wars.
Always comes back to Star Wars. Yeah, I only hate it so much because I love it.
Yeah.
But no, it's I'm always reminded of that school project I had as a kid when I think about the Star Wars sequels, because that's clearly what happened. J.J. Abrams did Episode 7, and I loved 7 when it came out. I was really impressed, but when I think back, it's only because like it's become much more of a controversial opinion in recent years, but I still think the prequels are absolutely awful. I don't think I'll ever be capable of loving them the way some people have been able to in recent years.
People have revisited that,
Yeah,
and
people
what
all of
they
a sudden
disliked
love.
before suddenly isn't their nostalgia for it.
Yeah, it's very strange. Just because we have a trilogy of sequels now that are terrible doesn't mean that the prequels are any less terrible. I think there are funny scenes in the prequels, but overall, I think they're absolutely awful films. I really, really think they're very, very bad.
So I don't love Star Wars at all, right? I'll be honest with you. I would have seen bits of the original 3, and then I would have seen Phantom Menace. Would probably have been my first movie. I love to tell people that Clone Wars was my first one, because that just messes with their heads.
Yeah.
But I think Phantom Menace was legitimately the first one I saw, and then I probably saw the other 3 after that, and then I'd have gone on to Clone Wars when that came out, and I remember loving Phantom Menace. Fucking love that. The kid playing Anakin, cool. I knew he was, spoilers, but I knew he was Vader. I love anything with Natalie Portman in it. I absolutely, like, you can't say no to Liam Neeson, and like the casting was class. Darth Maul was sick. The music was
I like Darth Maul. Yeah,
sick. Pod racing is class.
This is pod race.
Anyone who says that Jar Jar Binks is a terrible character or whatever can suck my butt.
Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks.
He is class. I really enjoyed him, but at the time, Jar Jar was class, because
at the
CGI,
time, Jar Jar was not class. Jar Jar was never class at any point in time ever.
CGI was just kind of getting class. They're testing what they can do, and they made this weird reptilian dog creature who kind of lived underwater sometimes, and he was obviously comic relief, and the kind of clumsiness. No, do you know what he is? I don't even know the name of the character now. Who's the stormtrooper in the sequels who takes his mask off? And that's Jar Jar Binks. It's the same.
A little bit, yeah.
It's the same kind of comic relief.
He's kind of the blundering idiot.
He kind of meanders successfully through all these perils, where everyone else around him is like really skilled or whatever. And as you said, Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks. The idea that like maybe there was a kind of touch of the Force about them and that it protected them along the way, I'm not opposed to that. I don't care enough about it to say no. But that stuff didn't really exist in the original ones. But did it? Like, Leia and Han at times really come across like they have a touch of the Force in the original ones.
Right.
So the idea that it's like kind of hanging around in some class select few along the way, like, that's always been there. So don't turn around and say it's nonsense. Don't turn around and say, oh, you can't add like the cutesy, lovable character in Phantom Menace and have me take it seriously. The Furbies won the war for them in the originals. Like,
yeah, and like, fair enough. It's a fair point to draw up, and it's one of the very few significant problems I have with the original trilogy.
Well,
the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi are just stupid.
Is that not just the exact same thing as the way the Hobbits are written in Lord of the Rings? Like, not in the movies, but am I wrong in saying that in the books there's like a revolt in Hobbiton or whatever, and that there's, have you read them? I haven't read them.
I tried 2 years ago. I couldn't get through them.
I think in the original, and I could be absolutely wrong here, but I think the Hobbits like rise up and they have their own little battle, and it's very
against whom?
Enemies. I don't know.
Right.
But it's. I've seen videos and stuff where people have likened it to Star Wars and the Hobbits.
It's a chapter at the end, the Scouring of the Shire.
Yeah, right. You know the details, but there's something like that, and I'm like, that's just a fun bit of storytelling. Where what if the underdog rises up and the common man kind of steps up to the bad guy, and it's a tale that you always hear of, like, taking someone for granted and then them winning. Like, I'm okay with that. It's just a storytelling trope or whatever, but it's a bit of fun, and it's served. can it not serve that segment of the audience without diminishing your fun? Like, that's...
I suppose for me, what I'm always trying to keep in mind is my ability, a lot of the time, to enjoy something depends on the expectations I have going in. And unfortunately, if let's take K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Nothing came before it. I'm going in as a complete tabula rasa, a complete blank slate. I have no expectations of any kind. All I've heard is that people say it's great.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'll give it a chance. And I really enjoyed it because I wasn't expecting it to be anything other than what it was, really. But when it comes to something like a Star Wars trilogy, you have to handle it with more care than you would almost anything else. And the ball was dropped very violently. That was a glass globe that was dropped and shattered into a million pieces beyond any kind of repair.
And then it was up to someone to come along and try to put those pieces back together.
And it just made it worse.
Yeah, it was like they picked up the pieces and they couldn't remember. They didn't have the front cover of the jigsaw box and they didn't know what image they were trying to create. And I kind of remember where we were going with this.
But what I can't understand about Star Wars, right, is it's this beloved franchise that's been in people's minds. It's an inalienable component of pop culture and has been ever since 1977 when the Star Wars came out. It was the Star Wars originally. I think it became A New Hope later on when it became a trilogy. But since the late 70s, mid to late 70s, Star Wars has been a thing that people absolutely go nuts for.
Or they don't care at all.
Well, I suppose everything can be divided into those camps, but the lovers of Star Wars are very, very passionate. As I'd include myself in that as well. And then it's purchased by one of the biggest corporations in the world, or at the very least one of the most recognizable corporations in the world. And the degree to which they dropped the ball can hardly be overstated. I cannot believe that Disney fumbled as badly as they did when it came to their handling of Star Wars. It beggars belief. I cannot process it. And it's not that I am kept up at night or anything by this. I don't feel betrayed or anything like that. I just feel sad for Star Wars because it was handled so poorly. So poorly.
So funny to me.
Why?
Sorry, no, I'm just going to shit all over your dreams. But you just said something that was really funny to me. You just said that you feel bad for Star Wars. Star Wars has no feelings. Star Wars wasn't actually hurt, okay? And because Star Wars can't feel pain.
I guess if Star Wars was a person, this person would be like malnourished. They're malnourished. They're chained up to a radiator,
but
and then
you're exaggerating again. Like it's nonsense because you say you can't understand how Disney made such a balls of this thing, right? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Disney bought the rights to this thing and went, oh, we're going to just lash out a couple of movies here every few years. And they got these actors that they signed on for contracts, and they probably had so many movies to be made within so many years. So they just had to pump them out. And is it that Abrams leaves and then he comes back?
Yeah, is that what happened? He did 7 and 9. He came back for 9.
And he left for 8 because of reasons. Someone else took the script for 7 and where they wanted to go by 9. They delivered 8 and everyone went, nah. And Abrams was like, I can come back and I'll try to fix it. I think that's a really, really rudimentary explanation for what happened.
Yeah.
So I love this analogy because I use this when it comes to football managers. I use this all the time. So if a football manager has taken a team, right, and he goes, okay, I want to play defensive football and counter-attack. They can come to me. My guys are so good, they will stop the ball, and I'm going to have some fast young fellas in the sides who are really good at getting the ball in the goal. All they have to do is run a straight line and get the ball in the goal. If they're tackled, they're crap. They can't tackle themselves, but that's what the tall lads at the back are for. And they get the ball and pass forward. That manager loses his job and a new manager comes in who just wants to play hyper-pressing, attacking football. He's got the fast lads to the side. Suddenly he doesn't need the tall powerhouses at the back and starts to change the dynamic of the team, sells players, brings in new ones. He gets fired and another person comes in. What's he left with? He has half a team that were built for one purpose, half a team that was built for another purpose. And he has to come in and look at the ingredients on his plate. And someone was making a lasagna, someone else was making a chicken curry. He wants to make fish and chips, but he's got mince and he's got pasta and sauce and curry and rice all in his plate, and somehow he's used these ingredients to make his fish and chips. How does he get there? And that's kind of what happened with Abrams. He wanted to make a tikka masala. Someone else came in and went, no, we're making bangers and mash. And now he's like, how do I make my tikka masala out of sausage and potatoes? And they're after scraping away all the ingredients I previously bought, and now I'm left with this mess. How do I make this out of it? And how effective is that going to be? He can only do so much with what's on his plate at the time.
Yeah, but there's a certain degree to which he has to take responsibility for. He's trying to make the most of the balls that was episode 8.
Yeah.
You're not going to do yourself any favors by
hard retcon,
by bringing Emperor Palpatine back into episode 9. That to me, still to this day, is probably the most baffling decision I've ever seen made in any film ever. It's just because of it's because of the consequences it entails. By bringing Emperor Palpatine back in 9, you've all of a sudden neutered Snoke, and I suppose also Kylo Ren as the main bad, who's supposed to be in the sequels. Like, originally it was Snoke. Snoke was kind of like the sequel Emperor, let's say. Then, spoilers, but these films are like 10 years old now. Kylo Ren kills Snoke in 8. That kind of came out of left field a bit, and then you're kind of led to believe that Kylo Ren is the big bad now. Okay, but they don't even commit to that. They bring Emperor Palpatine back, and they also bring back Lando Calrissian for some reason, because they just need characters from the old recognizable trilogy to give their trilogy legitimacy. But let me finish this. Emperor Palpatine being brought back for 9, it makes Kylo Ren and Snoke toothless, neutered villains in the sequel trilogy. It also completely undoes the arc of Anakin Skywalker that we've seen play out over the 3 films of the trilogy. And don't interfere with the one thing in Star Wars that's actually good, which is the original trilogy.
You can't
leave that alone.
No, you can't say it's the one thing that was good.
In my opinion, it is.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I hate saying that, but there is so much crap Star Wars out there for the good stuff.
It's one of those audiences that really cannibalizes itself. But I don't know. I think if you just look at it objectively, like, they needed the big pop of bringing back familiar faces to try to right the ship somewhat. And maybe if we introduce these characters, it's so out of left field that people forget the mess that it's going to come from. But at what point does Kylo Ren go good? Because doesn't he kill both of his parents at some point? Or they both die at least. And Leia blows up at some point as well, doesn't she?
Oh, that was another gotcha moment in episode 8. She blows up, but then she does her Mary Poppins flight back to the ship.
Right, okay. Just, a bit nonsensical, really.
That's my point.
No, you're right. And I don't love them enough to be so close to be offended by any of this. I just saw it as just another story. Like, to me, it was grand. But I know a lot of people were really, really hurt even over some of this stuff, the decisions that were made, because a lot of people feel like they're entitled to these properties and that they grew up with them and that they're
that's a fair point.
Does it not all boil down to, did you not write something kind of better in your own head, and then when it wasn't at least as good as that? Because ultimately, I do that. I write where I think in my own head. I write where I think things are going to go, and then if they don't match at least what I think is cool, I'm disappointed, because who am I? I don't have the backing of Disney, and I can't pay the most creative writers out there to help me along. But if I think I came up with something that would have been way cooler, then you give me something that's kind of half-assed or a bit bad, I'm going to be way more critical of it, because I thought I did better on my own. And you had all this money and time and effort, and I have full-time jobs and commitments and all the rest of it. I gave some casual thought to something, and I thought I came up with something better. Like, anyone could have probably sat down. If you ask Star Wars fans, they all will tell you, probably, well, this is what they should have done with episode 8, and this is what they should have done with episode 9. After what you gave us in 7, here's what I would have done. And everyone's going to think they could have or should have would have done it better. Did you have a pitch when you, what were you expecting out of 8?
No, to be fair, I wasn't expecting... How do I describe it? I wasn't expecting anything specific out of the sequel trilogy. I had no idea where the story was going to go or anything like that. But having seen the films, I can definitely say that that's not what I expected.
Yeah,
I expected them to be good. I don't know
That's too vague.
No, but like I know it's very vague to say I expect it to be good, but expect it to be good. I don't know in what way, but I didn't expect it to be bad, and it is bad in so many crystallized, concrete ways that just it fries my brain when I think about all of the
Did
poor
you really
decisions
not
they
think
made.
they'd be bad? Can you honestly say, like, when they announced these movies, did you not just go, "Don't touch it"? Like, you can't. You're going to make it worse. Don't touch it. Because I know that was
No, I was hopeful
popular
at the time, and I
Okay.
saw episode 7, and I was really taken with it. But the reason, or rather, one of the reasons why I'm so critical of 8 is it was because 8 was the way it was that made any further enjoyment of 7 impossible. I watched 7. I watched 7 multiple times in 2015 when it came out because I really enjoyed it. I was very excited for where it was going to go. Then I saw where it went in episode 8, and since then I've never been able to rewatch 7. I have no interest because I know. For me, the biggest thing is, for a long time, the ending of episode 7 was actually my favorite ending to any Star Wars film. I thought it was so cool when she arrives on Skellig Michael and Luke is there.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that there's no dialogue in that ending sequence. You're left with the promise of so much mystery and so much story to come in 8. And then you see where they went with it, and you're like, oh God. Like, there is just no way under the sun that what was intended at the end of 7 was what we got in 8.
So
it's that jarring description that I offered a moment ago, where the classes were clearly writing different stories.
Put yourself in those shoes right now. You see Rey land on the island, and she pops Luke, and class.
Yeah.
Right. What are you expecting from 8 at that point? Because are you just expecting, if they just gave you Luke is it on Dagobah with Yoda, and he's like learning to be a Jedi in the original movies. Am I right in saying that was the name of the planet where he finds the swamp planet?
Yeah.
If they basically just gave you that, but Luke was Yoda and Rey was Luke, and then at the end there's a cool, and Rey comes out as like Rocky World Heavyweight Champion kind of thing, lands the kind of the blow, and you go, oh, that was great. And then there's another big bad kind of revealed or whatever, and oh shit, we have this.
That would have been very similar to Empire Strikes Back.
Is that not what was nearly needed to make it familiar, rather than fucking bouncing back and forth? And like, I find it hard to keep up with who is almost important and why, because a lot of the characters to me felt like they were just kind of noise. There weren't enough stars in it. It's not like,
that's an interesting description, actually. The characters felt like noise.
They just, some of them were, is it Gleason, the Irish actor, the redheaded fella? He was one of the bad guys.
Oh yeah, he was
It was like
in episode 8. He was a.
It was like is it Donald Gleason? It was like he was supposed to be somewhat important, but like I never cared. Do you know what I mean? I never kind of gave.
Donald Gleason is the son. Yeah, he plays the First Order officer,
whatever
dude.
Yeah, John.
Yeah,
like
John. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's kind of a throwaway. Like, but I feel like it needed familiarity, and I feel like if it just gave us a really cool story of Rey learning from Luke, and Luke seeing loads of like, because at the time we don't know who she's related to and where she's getting her powers from and stuff. And if Luke thought he saw a lot of familiarity in Rey, that would have been enough to kind of keep a tease alive. They can still do whatever twists and turns they want in the 9th one. Actually related to so and so's. They could still do all of that, and it still be true. Luke found them familiar because whatever. But I think that's what they needed, was Rey lands on the island. The next movie then was her in. Give me a training montage of her going through some of the same shit that Luke had to go through to get to where Luke got to. But Luke having the knowledge of like what went wrong with Anakin and all the rest of it, have Ray present some of those traits as well, but go the other way and go, actually, do you know what? No, I'm still going to continue to train you, and I'm still going to. Whereas I felt like those were the missed opportunities for me. I'm not as close to the franchises as a lot of people who were hurt by it. But I just felt like it came from poor storytelling. It was very disjointed, as you said, and obviously that came from directors and producers. But surely someone should have been overseeing that and gone, here is the layout of the three movies. You can't deter.
Yeah, there was no game plan from the beginning.
And that's the thing, is you should have written what did the end look like and how do we get there.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking about that earlier. But to me, it really felt as though they wrote the start of the story and then someone else had to come along, and it was almost as if they hadn't watched the first chapter of the story.
It's this stupid thing that Abrams talks about, the mystery box, right? And Lost is particularly guilty of that as well. What Abrams does, now I haven't seen everything he's ever made, but I've seen enough to come to this particular conclusion, which is he's very good at piquing your interest in this weird mystery. And it's like, from my own experience, it's never the case that the mystery that the payoff justifies the mystery. Take the polar bear in Lost.
They do explain that.
Yeah, but like I've no recollection of what the explanation is because it was kind of shit and it didn't really matter. But I do remember the first season in Lost. There's a polar bear on the island, and you think, "Ooh, what's that about?" Then way later you find out, and you just think, "Okay,
it was kind of a throwaway.
That was a big nothing."
It was a throwaway. It's in season 2, I think, where Sawyer and Kate get put into these cages, and they're getting electric shocks, but they learned that if they pushed a button, nuggets of food would come in.
Right.
And someone throws away the comment that, yeah, we used to test this with bears. And it was one of them would push the button and get rewarded with food, and one would push the button and they'd get a shock. And then after a while, they learned not to push the button or whatever it was. And that was kind of the payoff. One of them escaped and swam from one island to the other. It was very throwaway, but they did explain it. To me,
you see, okay, it's not about whether they explain it. It's whether about the explanation
being good enough
deepens the mystery or makes the mystery worthwhile, worth your attention.
I remember being annoyed with it because they teased it with the kid and the comic book. There was Walt had a comic book and there was a polar bear in that.
Yes, yeah.
And the scene, I was enthralled. Is the comic book real, or did something like, where is this tie-in? It was too on the nose of a tease for me to think that they weren't linked, and for it to just be a red herring, I thought it was a bit poos. I didn't enjoy that, to be honest. But yeah, you're right. He seems to be the one who goes, there's a door at the end of the hallway, don't open the door. And he says, don't open the door for 7 seasons. When they finally open the door, it's because there's a fucking draft. Like, it's like, oh, thanks for that, lad.
For me, the worst offender for me was the ending of episode 7, because the entire motivation, like what the whole film is about, is trying to find Luke Skywalker. And there's the mystery of why he's hiding, what he's been doing in the meantime, like what is going on with Luke, and how he's going to be the key to the success of the new rebellion.
And then 8 happens.
Then she finds him on the island, and he's like, "No, I'm just a bitter old hermit. I want nothing to do with anything." And you're like, this can't be what's in the mystery box.
Was Yoda not a bit of a bitter old hermit at the start when Luke met him, and he had to bring it out of him? Because that's what to be honest, why do you think on that? I'm going to tell you how I saw the end of episode 7 before I saw episode 7.
Okay.
It came out on DVD.
Right.
I was working for a well-known retailer at the time who had a big wall of TVs at the back. And what movie did they have on?
Yeah.
So we were at a meeting at 9:25 where we were talking about the plan for the day and sales yesterday and whatever. And normally I have my back to the TVs, and for whatever reason today I'm watching the TVs on. There's no volume. And I see her land on the island or whatever, and I see her meet with him. And I was like, well, there's no point in me watching this movie now. I was just done. But I remember being really excited, and I was like kind of giddy. And I'm not that into it. Then I went and I watched the movie later, and I was disappointed because I felt the ending was really good, but I didn't feel that the movie was all that. But I put that down to the fact I'm not a huge fan. When I eventually went and I watched 8, and he like takes the lightsaber and he basically and just tosses it, kind of thing. Like he's no interest. I'm like, that's a miss straight away. It wasn't even a swing and a miss. That was like, it was his turn to go up to bat, and he just refused. It was just so poor.
Yeah.
All I expected was training montage, and while she's off training, all the other characters should have put into even more peril, and for them to have to step up like in her absence, and then for her to rock up like Neo at the end of the Matrix in another sequel where her and Luke go into battle, and then I just wanted that repeat that as well. Have her watch Luke get chopped in the middle, and this be a cycle that repeats, and then she has to stand up to the bad guy, who she's kind of related to, and like or whatever. To give me something where give the relationship between them needed to have conflict, and I felt it was really weird conflict that they actually delivered on, and it could have been simple. It could have been if they gave you what I'm describing now. You would have come away from that and gone predictable and fair, but it would have been goodish. What you got was ass-ish. So maybe it was never going to be class. Maybe it could have been found lacking for you. But what you ultimately got was, in your opinion, ass. Other people are going to have grown up with those movies, and those are going to be their Star Wars movies.
God.
And they're going to look back on A New Hope and go, there weren't even any flips. Like, you know? And the graphics were ass or whatever. Like, and there's just generations of people who are going to just see it differently. I think Disney took an established IP that has a huge world, and they divided it up pretty much immediately and said, don't touch that. That's going to have its own thing. That's going to have its own thing. That's going to have its own thing. And what they were left with, episode 7 should have been called False Hope. Like, because it did establish an awful lot of people thinking the train is back on the tracks, and then the very next stop, it's off the tracks again, and there's no way to get it back. And then they hear, oh, we actually have the original conductor's back, and he's going to drive the train. It's not going the same direction now. But no, we'll get there.
I think, like, when I reflect as well on my feelings for episode 7, the enjoyment I got out of it at the time, I think, was like a house built on a foundation of sand, because I'd spent years and years at that point loving the original trilogy, pretty much hating on the prequels, and I stand by that. I know a lot of people say, oh, you just don't understand them, or the prequels are amazing. No, I don't think they are. I think they're garbage films. I like that they exist because they're very, what would you say, productive meme factories. I think the memes that have come out of the prequel trilogies justify their existence, but they're terrible films. So by the time 7 came out, and I watched it, and I felt it wasn't as bad as any of the prequels, I thought, yep, that's good enough. I love it now because it's not absolutely terrible, so therefore I love it. Then episode 8 came out, and that changed everything for me. I saw 7 more for what it was after 8 came out. And then by the time 9 came out, I thought, well, the whole thing is on fire. Might as well see how it goes. And I suppose in a way, 9 didn't let me down if that was what I wanted out of it. It's just a dumpster fire that got bigger and smellier, and it was a spectacle to see just how much they fucked it all up. Because 9, in many ways, was actually worse than 8, which is a hell of an achievement. It's amazing, really, when you consider
it's actually class that they managed.
It's class that it was that ass.
Yeah.
So it's those are my feelings on the
there was trilogy. Just so many people out there who I feel would have done a better job at telling those 3 stories, or telling just stories.
Yeah, my cat.
And to me, it really feels as though there wasn't much of a plan from the beginning, and that was a waste. And if anything is to be learned from that, I feel like these groups that are working on IPs that are held so dearly by so many, yes, you can cash in on it now and sell the toys for Christmas and make the movies and sell the DVDs and stuff. Great. But if there's no people going back to rewatch them, and they're not going to become like timeless, is it worth it? If you're going to damage what already is timeless, if you're going to sour the recipe, then why don't you just hold off and wait and figure out something that is good enough before just giving something?
The Star Wars sequels are not going to leave any kind of a solid legacy. No one, put it this way. I believe that there are very, very, very few kids, let's say under 10 years of age, who will have watched the Star Wars sequels and remember them fondly 30, 40 years from now when they're grown up.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I'd be fairly convinced of that. In the same way that my partner has a few young cousins, and when I see the kind of video games they play,
Yeah, let's save that for another one. We're going to talk about Roblox.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
When I see, but just very generally, when I see the kind of video games kids play now,
Mhm.
a lot of the time they're absolute schlock.
Yeah.
Video games, and there's no way that those kids are going to grow up and remember those games fondly in
No,
the way
no.
I would remember the old Zelda games or Mario games fondly.
We can't keep going back to Zelda and Mario from 1996. If
Yeah,
the comment sections have told me anything,
but there's a reason, right? I mean, those games are beloved for a good reason. It's because they're consistently very good.
Yeah.
Star Wars isn't consistently very good.
No,
most things aren't consistently.
Do you know
very good.
what I realized when I was explaining my thoughts there on when you take an IP and if you don't have something worth saying, then just say nothing until you do.
Yeah,
I said, that's what this chat is.
Yeah,
it's just meandering, and it's made me realize that episode 7, 8, and 9 they were a bit of freeform jazz. It was like people turned
bad
up,
freeform.
They just
jazz.
wrote, "Is there
Yeah.
good?" They
like, guys, we bought Star Wars. Guess we got to make Star Wars movies, right? What are we going to make movies about?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Just make them.
What's the next scene going to be?
I don't know.
I was
just
thinking this.
something with a lightsaber.
Yeah, and
something
then suddenly,
with a cool blaster sound effect.
Yeah, I feel like that's what this podcast is. It's a bit of freeform rambling jazz.
Yeah, but ours is class.
I like to think ours is class for someone. Yeah, I don't know. That really was that whole thing started from going like, what have you watched recently? By the way, yeah, ultimately,
tell you what I haven't watched recently: the Star Wars sequels.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I think we should do a watch along or something sometime when we get famous enough that people give a shit. We'll do a Star Wars watch along, and we'll do a little counter of every time that Rob like slaps his leg and goes, "This bullshit." Like this scene is the problem, and then we'll have to dissect.
The counter would run out of clicks very quickly.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so what even was this chat about?
What we've watched recently.
But none of it was recent. Like K-pop Demon Hunters was an hour ago. Yeah.
Well, no, I have watched Curse of the Black Pearl recently. Only a few days ago.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So I think this episode was ultimately like, here's some stuff that we have watched and some thoughts that we have based on those things. How class is that? So anyway,
how focused is that?
So Pirates of the Caribbean class.
Yep.
Star Wars sequels ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything in the middle is found lacking. But let me give you this to go on. You said earlier about K-pop Demon Hunters, you had nothing going into it. How would you feel now if you saw that K-pop Demon Hunters was getting a sequel?
Oh.
What the fuck would the story even be?
Yeah.
However, it has to be appealing to the people behind Netflix and Sony. They have to be looking at that and going, there's too much value wrapped up in this 90 minutes. It's actually
it's a good question to ask because it's their most successful film ever, I think. So a sequel, there's probably people in a boardroom right now thinking we need to cash in more on this.
On something rather than leaving it at nothing. And they can end up ruining the memory of K-pop Demon Hunters because it'll come out and it'll be like K-pop Vampire Hunters and it just won't have the same ring to it. It'll be
K-pop Werewolf Hunters.
Yeah, it'll be something like that.
I'm afraid it will go the same way as Joker did. Joker in 2019 I thought it was an incredible film. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Then Folie à Deux came out 2 years ago, I think it was, and it was absolutely terrible.
As soon as I heard that it was a musical with Lady Gaga, I went, that's not going to be what I want.
I was very much willing to give it a chance. I thought that a musical format could suit the Joker character because he's theatrical in his nature. Yeah. So I thought that's a very interesting approach, and I went in with an open mind. Then I saw it and I thought it was absolutely terrible.
That was your problem. You went into it with an open mind. You have to go into things with a low expectation, and that way you can only be up from there, really. So go in and think this is going to be found lacking, and it's rarely going to be ass, but it might be class, much like my Leaving Cert results. Ooh. So on that, I think what we should do is call it here. Thanks for being so class. And I think next time we talk, maybe we should discuss times where you've gone into something and you had a certain expectation for something and how it might have let you down to the point where you feel an ass. And we'll try not to talk about Mario and Zelda and Star Wars for that one.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
Ultimately, we'll be about 20 minutes in and we'll go back to Ocarina time.
Yeah, probably, something like that. Or Mario 64.
All right, man. We'll go and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, sounds good to me. See you guys next time.